By now, you're probably feeling a whole lot more comfortable with the calculations for addition and subtraction of fractions. But these problems have a lot of steps to them. And any mistake that you make on any one of those steps or transitioning into, making a common denominator and actually subtracting the numerators and so forth, it could throw your whole problem off and you still get the wrong answer because you have some part of the steps that you're still not real comfortable with. So I suggest that you write these down. Take a sheet of paper and make some notes on these steps so you have them right in front of you. Um, so you're going to be, first of all, looking at the denominator and noticing if it's the same, you're going to keep it and copy it right to your answer to fill in that box so you don't have to worry that when you actually do the calculation for the numerator, you're going to put the answer in the wrong spot of your answer fraction. If you don't have common denominators, that's another step that you're going to have to do kind of on the side, and then go back to the actual rules that say get the common denominator and copy it into the answer. Then you're going to be adding the numerators, adding the whole numbers if you had them, and here's another step where you're going to have to do a calculation to put your answer in lowest terms. So you would be following either a straight division or one of these divisibility rules that we talked about. Wow, that's a lot to remember. And then that's just for addition. Subtraction is similar, but the rules are, they have some glitchy parts in it too. Again, I suggest you writing them down on a sheet of paper that you're going to keep right next to you when you're doing these types of problems so you can refer back and forth. Okay, now I'm in step 2, now I'm in step 3. Oh, that's right, that's what I do next. Pretty soon, it will become part of your repertoire. There were a lot of steps to tying a shoe too, but now you don't even notice it. Or brushing your teeth. Do you ever worry? Oh gosh, I hope I don't forget to take the cap off the toothpaste. You just do it automatically. And that's how this will be too, just like taking the cap off the toothpaste. So your subtraction of fractions, you're going to be looking for a common denominator. If you don't have one, that's an extra side step that we have to do for getting a common denominator. From then, you'll keep that denominator that's common. Subtract the numerators, subtract the whole numbers. But if the top number, the first fraction, has a numerator that's too small, there's another side calculation where you have to do a renaming of the whole number. So there, before you get to the last step, which is lowest terms, which could mean bringing in your divisibility rules. So as you get older, the problems just build on each other and build on each other. So you're going to need to have a strategy. If you can't remember them all, the strategy might be to actually write this down and keep it next to you. Another place where you can make it more difficult for yourself is if your columns aren't straight. Being neat on your paper and legible, writing legible numbers in a neat way on your paper can help you with the calculations. You won't confuse yourself so much if your 3 looks like a 5 and then you say, oh, I can't even remember what I put here. Is my 1 like a 7? Is this a 7? Is this a 1? You see what I'm saying? So neatness and your columns lined up straight helps a lot. Giving yourself enough room on the paper so you don't squeeze it too much and make it hard for you to see which numbers are for what columns and so forth. So let me go through an actual problem, and I'll be careful to show you the steps and also the spacing on a problem like this. Okay, so we're first of all going to look for our denominators. These are not common, so we're going to need to do a side calculation. We're going to have to do, I usually set myself up so I have my fraction lines all laid out here. So I can see they're right straight across from each other. My denominators are across from each other. My numerators are too. 8s and 3s, the common denominator is 24. So I'm going to place them in both of those before I go on. There's no sense holding that in my head. I can put that number down on the paper so I don't have to think about it again. Now I'm going to be doing two separate calculations. Each fraction has its own equivalent fraction. 3 times 8 is 24. If I multiply the denominator by 24 or by 8 to get 24, I also have to multiply the numerator by 8. So 8 times 2 is 16, and this is the only spot that's available for it. That's why I put that denominator in there. So I can put my 16 right here. Then while I'm on this fraction, I'll look back and pull that whole number over. I want to be sure I don't forget that. Coming here, I'm going to make the calculation. 8 times 3 was 24, so I'm going to use that 3 over again and multiply it by the numerator. The only spot I have for the answer is right there, so 3 times 3 is 9. I put it right here. It's open. And then drag my whole number over. If you do this in the same way each time, you're going to get used to the series of events that you're just going to go on and on with one following another. But if you sometimes do it this way and sometimes do it that way, you may confuse yourself too. All right, now the denominators are the same. So we're going to keep the denominator. I'm going to take it right to my answer. When I now go to add my numerator, there's only one spot available to put the answer. It's right there. So I don't have to worry that where does it go? It's right there. 9 plus 16 is 25. All right, and then you add your whole numbers. 7. Now this is the calculation where you simplify to lowest terms. This is a top-heavy fraction. It's improper. 25 is bigger than 24. So I know that I can divide 24. I can take 24 of these pieces out of it to make a whole. So this is going to be 1, and 1/24 is left over. That's for this much of it, just the fraction part. I've got a whole number out of it, plus I have a whole number to start with. So I have to add those two together. So the whole numbers get combined to 8 and 1/24. Here's the spacing. You could almost draw a line here. This is our first calculations, and then the second step was here. And then everything else happened in the answer. Let's take a look at a subtraction.